also somewhat of a solution for preventing them from walking around your head. So let's say Phil got me in a side control. So what's a typical side control? Typical side control is that they'll hold your head, because head control is side control. Side control is head control. And he's got an underhook, okay? But his hands, if you notice, are clamped together. So he does not really have much. However, he has control. He doesn't have control of my hip. Nothing's stopping me from walking my hip away, except he can follow my hip and stay where his right knee stays by my hip, which is probably the right thing to do, okay? If I walk into him, I'm gonna walk into that frame. If I walk away, he may continue, okay? The thing you gotta keep in mind is nothing's stopping you from moving laterally, okay, except you. The question is, what's this hand doing, okay? Ideally, I would want it for an underhook, but he beat me to the underhook. So I need to somehow put my hand strategically where I can set up for what I'm gonna be doing subsequently, which is looking to trap him in the space of side control without letting him move out, especially anticipating that he's probably gonna wanna walk around my head. So typically I would trap right here, so he can't really freely pull out that arm, because if he can freely move his hands out, he can begin to walk around the head and so forth and improve his position. Or if he wants to do any form of submission, it's very difficult to do them from this position without using your hands. So if I'm just here, my hand's like just doing nothing, because it's got to be doing something, okay? If I'm just here, or a lot of people like grab right here and they pull the person on, he can pull that arm out, he can go knee to the belly right here, he can improve his position. But if you notice, anything that he has to really do to set up any submission switch actually requires him creating space. You have to anticipate that and understand that you're gonna take advantage of it. So as I walk this way, he follows, okay? But what I'm doing is I'm pinching here. You can also like grab right here. So it's harder for him to pull that arm out, okay? And I'm lifting my hip. I don't want my hips dragging on the mat here. It's too much surface area to kind of drag. So I want to be dynamic. Can you see how much my hips can move? Look at the space I can create just from my feet being here. Look, here, I'm wedging into his knee, and look at me just moving my hips away. But imagine if I did this. Look at how much space I can create. The thing that I need to first and foremost do is I need to properly set this arm to create a frame, okay? I want to frame his hip. So my right elbow, kind of this part right here, just below the elbow, that's the strongest part of your frame. This is the weakest part of your frame. I never want you guys to do this, because if he begins to switch his base, I can get wrist lock right here, because my elbow's stuck on the mat and you're not going to move it, and his wrist will roll over his hip will roll over your wrist, like right here. I can't even move it out because it's stuck against me and against the mat. I want you guys to frame here and create space here, okay? Because now right here, okay, and typically it's with your hand looking at you, like your ring finger should be pointing you right in the eye. This is the strongest way for me to be able to defend him and move my hips out as a result. If he wants to begin to walk around my hips, walk around my head, and he steps, I can move that hand down, okay? And I can move it down to his legs right here, okay? Like this way. If your arms get caught out, okay, I want to move my hips away and wedge my elbow in, okay? From here, if he begins to, I'm pinching his elbow with my left arm here. From here, he begins to kind of try to step over my head, and I walk right here with my hand pressing his knees together. He's gonna kind of try to step and so forth. I keep walking my hips to the right, and I keep jamming him in that space where right now my hip and my forearm caught his knees together as my hand goes across his head. And I'm gonna bridge up and roll right here, okay? From here, I don't wanna stop here. I wanna keep going here. That makes sense? This requires for you to do a little bit of fishing, okay? But to get this arm and jam his feet by your hips, you're going to frame here and walk your hips in, okay? You have way more power walking your hips in than you do, bring your right knee to the hip, doing that right there. I can't, that's about as strong as I can push, but here I can frame and I can walk my hip in this way. As I'm framing here, and I'm gonna shoot my left overhook here. It's like a cross face here towards the camera, and I'm gonna bridge as my left foot bridges, and as I bridge up, and I go my overhook here, going. See how I hook his arm? I don't wanna bend too low. As I hook it, I wanna keep it up, and I wanna be here. Then I can control it here, because I know this hand is gonna wanna grab something here, and I'm gonna keep it away. Because why would I lower it in order to only try to separate? Does that make sense? Yeah.
As you're setting up the reversal back,
Yeah.
are you putting downward pressure, and that's why you can't pull that arm out the base?
Yeah, you definitely want to do that, because when your hips come up, and that's a good point too, when your hips come up, your head should not be on the mat. Your chin should be tucked. So as you're here, it pins his cross-face arm.
Okay.
So it makes it difficult for him to pull out. From here, there's a series of things that also happen, okay? Because from here, if he tries to pull it out, I can begin to move this hand in, okay? And then I start walking it this way here, where we have this one here. And as he pulls that hand out, you have beginnings of combining side controlled escapes. Once you begin to at least kind of practice one, the other, then you can link them together. But for now, we're gonna do this one, and this is just basically a reversal. Your left elbow pinches the hip. I need to bring this elbow in, but let's say he's really adamant about, yes, right here, okay? I'm gonna bring this arm out. It sounds like I'm scooping. My hips are gonna walk to the right, okay? And my left hand is gonna go across his head as this elbow pinches, okay? I don't want to let him slide over my arm with his left knee. Like slide on the inside. Yeah, I don't want to let him do that, because that would really suck, okay? Because that is not good for me. So as I get here, okay, it's almost like I cut the hip, and I'm gonna drive across, and I'm gonna lift my hip into him as I roll over my shoulder, and my feet go up, so I don't get stuck in a half. Does that make sense? One more time. You're gonna pinch here so he doesn't kind of pull out, so he's kind of holding you here. I'm gonna reach here, because let's say he's driving his elbow in my armpit. His left knee in my armpit. Yes, and yes, like this. This is very common, okay? But what I know here is that they're not really planning on doing too much except kind of sitting here, because this is a good way to create a lot of pressure on the head. He'll extend that arm, clap his head together, and give me more cross-face pressure right here, okay? So what I'm gonna do is left elbow pinches. This one goes right about here. I frame here, and I'm gonna walk my hips in. And it's even better when you continue the movement. Does that make sense? And you just have to align your feet so that this foot can move your hips this way. Okay, one more time. Yes, sir. He's got the crossface here. I trap the arm here. Let's go this way. Yes, sir. Yeah. This arm, I just frame his kind of thigh right here. This pinches here, and I'm gonna lift my hips. I'm gonna walk, and then here. And then I go 1, 2, 3, right here. I love to do this. Sean Drop taught me this, and it has been a game changer. Because if you don't do this, if you just hook like this, he can pull his arm down. Okay, and now I have to extract his arm. If I hook and I go like this, I can catch it this way, and I have a good control, because he's got to lift his arm up and over in order to get it off this hook, versus me being here. And I'm way more powerful going up, because my elbow has to dip, so I can kind of get it around like almost like a C, and then I can catch it here. And then from here I can do whatever, as long as I don't let him re-grab. So when you get it to 90 degrees, keep it away from here, because I see a lot of you guys getting it away here good, and you're like, move it by their belt or by their hip, because they're going to be grabbing on whatever, even that lapel tip right there, okay? Or the belt, even worse. And then you'll have to come back and regrip and finish, okay? So one last time. You have your arms out right here. You're gonna clamp right there, elbow, hips, and you're gonna walk. And this elbow moves towards your hip. As your hip moves, his hip and his knees together, and then your arm lines up as you lift your hip and pick your feet up off the mat so that you don't wind up in a second. So here, and then move here, 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 all kinds of stuff. Okay, try it. 1, 2, 3. Ta-da!